Welcome back to the Soundation. This is Beethoven and how to fix these one-shot guitar noises because they're not the best, to be honest, and they're not the worst. But some of them kind of have like too much effect to them, like too much reverb that I've noticed, and that's why I don't use them. But now that I am learning a little bit more things, and there are other people that are using free VSTs, how can we, in free plugins, one-shots, how can we like maximize the potential that they actually have? And this one, now I need to start using this pretty much just because I need a guitar. And this one has too much resonance at the end of like the note that is being played. So like let's pretty much hear how this guitar sounds. Now after I paused it, we can still see that there's, and hopefully hear that there was still some resonance. And that means that the note's going to bleed into the next note, and that can get annoying, especially when you start playing lower notes and probably not higher notes because it sounds more celestial that way, depending on the effect that you're trying to get. All right, but if you can get a hold of a gate plugin, all right, and this one happens to be free FabFilter Pro G. I believe you can get like a trial version of it. What I've said in the last video is like you can stop distortion with like probably annoying 808s, but a lot of people aren't even at 808s yet. A lot of people are still trying to like, figure out how to do guitar melodies, right? So it's just like, boom, you can put a gate to stop that reverb. And here's the thing, there are some one shots that have like too much reverb. Like there's just some things that just last too long, all right? And maybe you don't want it to last as long. So when I activate the gate, what this is going to do is first, because I'm going to activate it, but because I'm aware of the settings, it's still going to sound as though like we didn't do anything. So like, let's listen to it. All right. I do want you to take notice of the black shading and the white shading that did appear. So I'm going to decrease the release all the way down so you guys can hear how dramatic the effect is. You can hear that the notes are shorter, not staccato, but there's more suppression towards the end of the notes being played. So they're not bleeding in as much. The importance of that is now, this is what you can imagine. Let's play this again. Now let's look at the black shading when the shorter notes are being played. Now let's imagine that you had noises, some other noises inside of that black shading that can fit in there now. All right. Now that's what I would imagine that you could, visualize as mixing. All right. So it's just, now there's not as much bleed. All right. Now that's just for like a guitar. There are presets, but it's just when you play around with the knobs and like you understand like what the gate's supposed to do, it can be more rhythmic. Something else that I've realized is when I changed the attack up, all right, what it did was it did add some more. It took a while for it to activate, so hopefully it does do the same thing in this example right here. Alright, so it has more of like a bounce to it. Alright, and that, like, hopefully I explained this correctly, but when the attack is all the way down, that means it's going to like activate like faster. Alright, and I would say obviously, but now the attack is happening a little bit slower in terms of when it's being suppressed, or I guess it causes some sort of slope. So I'm not really explaining it that well. I'm not gonna lie, that's the worst part about it. I usually just use my ear, but at least I'm trying to like help other people explain. So like, let's turn the release up and see what happens. That's what I wanted to show. It's probably hard to hear over the video, alright? We can at least see the waveforms just because that's what I was trying to point out. Let's play it one more time. So one thing that I thought that was cool, and this is what I wanted to show you, is that while that was playing, the black spaces decreased, meaning it's as if it was automated. Okay, as if someone was turning the knob by itself. And this is going to be my theory behind it, is because you can imagine that one thing playing is like one long note, all right? And it took a while for the gate to actually attack it, all right? So, and then it's also taking a while for it to like release at the same time. So it's just, that's why it sounds rhythmic. That's not a good way of explaining it. It's really not. But when you start playing around with it like yourself, you're gonna like understand what I mean. Is because there's so many different ways that people try to explain compression and like the ratio and this, that, and the third. And yeah, I see I have like a threshold ratio. It's not a compressor. If I were to change this range right here to this gives it more space. So that thing that we just did with the attack right there, the attack doesn't even do anything. In fact, the whole black shading is absolutely gone. So if we decrease its range, you know, that's at least something that we can like take notice. All right. I can't tell you what the range specifically targets, so like that's, I apologize for that. The threshold is when it actually like activates, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so it's like that right there. If we were to turn it all the way up, I think we wouldn't hear anything. We wouldn't hear much, all right? But the range helps us do that. We would hear it with the range just because we see this little slant right here. It's as if like it's kind of like pushing it down, right? We can imagine like a slight push right there, but then it's just like when you're trying to add a little extra, you know what I'm saying? I think that's what that's really doing, but like I might be wrong, but like that's what that line is visualizing for me. But yeah, hopefully you guys like learned something. Like and subscribe.